The last section of this factorising topic is to solve by factorising. We're going to look at a couple of easier versions of this topic first, but before we do that, if you can get the title, grade and date into your books, making sure that you underline the title. So here we'll start with the idea of solving, and then we'll move on to factorising with it. So here we've got that this set of double brackets is equal to 0. Whenever we're solving equations, that means that we need to find the value or values of x that make this correct. So here, when we've got double brackets next to each other, it means that we are multiplying them together. So here, if I multiply this bracket by this bracket and it equals 0, that means that I'm timesing two things together to equal 0. If I times two things together and it equals 0, that tells me that one of these things must equal 0. So we look at two different scenarios because we're going to end up with two solutions. We've either got that x minus 3 equals 0. With x minus 3 equals 0, what value of x would you need to make that true? We'd have to have x equals 3. Or, the other possibility is that x plus 5 equals 0. So the second bracket might equal 0. Well, for that to be true, something add 5 equals 0. So in other words, x equals minus 5. Now these two bits here are known as our solution. So x equals 3 and x equals minus 5. If you notice, it's the same numbers as in the bracket, just the opposite sign. These are our solutions. So the same for this one. We've either got that the first bracket is equal to 0, so x plus 2 equals 0. If that is true, then x must be minus 2. Notice, plus 2 in the question, minus 2 is our solution. Or we've got that the other bracket is equal to 0. So x plus 8 equals 0. And that would mean that x would have to be minus 8. Again, plus 8 in the bracket, minus 8 is our solution. That's section 1. Section 2 is where instead of giving us the brackets, we will need to put them into brackets first. So this is why it's called solving by factorising. So this question here, the first thing I would have to do is put this into double brackets. So using what we did before in previous lessons, I need two numbers that multiply together to make 12 but combine to make minus 4. So let's put our little x in each bracket to start off with, and then we've got two numbers that times together to make 12. So our options are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. I need to pick the pair here that I can use to make minus 4. Well, it's going to be 2 and 6. To make minus 4, I would have to have plus 2 and minus 6, because 2 take away 6 gives me the minus 4. So this is factorised. This would get us 1 mark in the exam. For the second and third mark, I would then need to work out the values of x. Well, if we do the same as before, but we can jump and cheat a little bit, if x plus 2 is the value of that bracket, then the solution will just be x equals minus 2, just the opposite sign. For this bracket, x minus 6, that tells me that the other solution is just x equals 6. That one's minus, so this one will be plus. You would get 1 extra mark for each of the solutions. The final example we've got is this. X squared plus 9x plus 14. So again, we need a little double bracket with an x in both. And then I need two numbers that times together to make 14. Well, the only options here are 1 and 14, and 2 and 7. Clearly, to make 9, I'm going to have to use the numbers 2 and 7, because 2 add 7 is 9. So that means I'm going to have plus 2 and plus 7. That's the factorising step. To then solve, I would need x equals minus 2, because we can just use the opposite sign. And for this bracket, we would get x equals minus 7. Again, plus there, some minus for our solution. If you're not sure, ask for help. But if you can have a go at the questions on the worksheet now, as a minimum, I'd expect section 1. If you can have a go at section 2, that would be good.